welcome to this, and this, of course, is my review of WWE's One Night Stand, their annual pay-per-view, which, of course, took over the ECW One Night Stand reunion pay-per-views, where they turned everything into a gimmick match or an Extreme Rules match. This is one of the pay-per-views that, because we get Vengeance, then we get this, and then we get freaking Night of Champions now. I really wish they'd get rid of Vengeance and just move this to Vengeance slot, because I think it would work out better. I think this is a pay-per-view that does get people excited, and if it wasn't sandwiched in between Vengeance and now Night of Champions, you would get something that people would kind of get excited about. This, however, is a pay-per-view I will tell you flat out, either you're going to like it or you're not. It's one of those types of pay-per-views. I don't think there's really kind of any in-between. I shouldn't say you're going to like it or you're not like it. You're going to think it's great, but I definitely think your enjoyment of this pay-per-view really centers around how much you liked certain matches, because there's definitely matches that can swing either way. This is one of those pay-per-views that if someone told me they thought it sucked, I really wouldn't argue with them very much, because I think it's one of those to where it could easily go one way or the other. I liked it myself, but we will get into that. We started the night off, though, with a Falls Count Anywhere match between Jeff Hardy and Umaga. This was a fun little match, I felt. They went out there. Jeff did a couple of cool little spots. The end spot is pretty impressive in my opinion, though it will depend. The camera work with this really kind of made the spot look either really good or kind of hokey, depending on how you want to look at it. They really left it up to your mind onto what exactly happened with the end spot of this match. That said, I liked it. I thought it worked. I enjoyed it myself. 2.5 stars. Good stuff. Probably a little too reminiscent of what you'd probably see on TV with a match like this, but I thought it kind of worked and did what it was supposed to, and it got the fans into it. And they were kind of all over the place with it, which, hey, kind of worked. Next we had the Singapore Cane match, which ended up being Singapore Cane on 4 poles. Yes, this ended up being a pole match with Tommy Dreamer, CM Punk, John Morrison, Chavo Guerrero with Bam Neely, and The Big Show. This was very well booked, in my opinion. They did whoever booked this match did a very good job. Right away, all the guys went after Big Show, which makes sense. It didn't take them too long to all go for the Singapore Canes as soon as Big Show was down. Once they got the Singapore Canes, it got pretty wild. Guys were hitting each other. Chavo ended up hitting Shawn Marion, who then ended up Punk basically let Shawn Marion hit Chavo back with one of the kendo sticks. It was kind of fun. This was a fun match, and I will say that. And I liked this a lot. I'd give it 3 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun. This match basically was booked to try to put Big Show back over as kind of the monster that he kind of needs to be, and I think it worked in that. And I liked and I enjoyed it. I think most people, from what I've said, pretty much enjoyed this match. I thought this worked out really well. I said 3 stars. Not so much 3 stars. 2 3/4 stars is what I would give this. So there we go. Next we had First Blood match. This is one of those matches, One Night Stand. One thing that I think they do need to do with One Night Stand is if they're going to make it an all gimmicks, it needs to be gimmicks we don't normally see. Now, First Blood match is not a match we normally see because it's kind of a sucky gimmick match, to be completely honest. But unlike, the Singapore Cane on a pole match, that's something we don't normally see in WWE, so I think it works in the WWE. And like I said, I thought it was booked very well. This was just kind of there. I thought it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. It wasn't. I'd say it was slightly below average in some ways, or just slightly above average. I should say, not below average, but slightly above average. It was what it was. I'm a big JBL fan, so I probably like this more than some people did. And the fans are usually into a John Cena match, so that kind of helped it. But I give it 2 1/4 stars. The ending was kind of weak, in my opinion. Next, we had the I Quit match with Melina versus Beth Phoenix, and this by far was the best WWE Divas match they've had since Backlash of last year. In my opinion, it was just as good as that match. It was a good 3 stars, legit 3 stars match. That's not just on the women's stuff. This was a good match. Beth Phoenix contorted and twisted Melina into all sorts of stuff. Melina got some good offense in. And, you know, Melina got in the mood of lock, and if you're going to do that, boys and girls, I'm going to like the match. This was a good match, and it shows that if the fans were into this match a lot more, I think this would have been as good as anything TNA has done with the knockouts for the most part. And there's probably one match I would probably say this probably wouldn't have touched, but everything else I think this would have been as good as. But because of the WWE, you know, one point they turn the Divas into like comedy matches, and the next minute they're trying to take them serious, and I don't think the fans really know what to think. So I think that hurt this, but I'd give this, even with the fans really not into this, I would still give this a 3 stars, because I felt this was really good stuff, and I enjoyed it myself. Next we had the stretcher match with HBK and Batista. This was another good match, in my opinion. I'd give this 3 stars. And in fact, this is one of those matches, either you really like stretcher matches or you don't like stretcher matches. I've always liked stretcher matches. I thought this was pretty brutal. I thought they did a really good job. The spot of the whole thing was Batista picked up HBK and told him, just so you know, I don't love you and I'm not sorry, and then Batista bombed him for a second time. The only annoying part of this match really was Chris Jericho came out and tried to, pep up HBK, tried to get HBK to, pull up some strength or something, I don't know, Hulk up, and it got really annoying to the point that I really wanted Batista just to pick up Chris Jericho and throw him through a freaking stretcher at one point. I was like, will you please get him off my TV? And I like Chris Jericho, but that was just freaking annoying, because this was, in my opinion, a really good match, and didn't make a whole lot of sense, and it was very TNA-ish in that sense, and really kind of took away from the match. But it was pretty good, and it's a good match, and there you go. Next we had Last Man Standing match. This is one of those matches where I don't know why this was on One Night Stand. This is a match that we see a lot from the WWE. I don't know why you couldn't have just made this a Texas Death Match. I think it would have worked better, though it doesn't really matter because Randy Orton got hurt very early into the match. Well, I would say probably about halfway, it looked like, through the match. I think would be safe to say he with Orton falling to the floor, broke his collarbone, pretty much didn't work out, and it's unfortunate because I was really starting to dig the match up to the point where they ended. Though I think they did do a good job of ending the match prematurely, where it kind of made sense. So, but still, it was good. It was getting to the point where you could see this could have been a really good match. But still, I'd give it 2 3/4 stars for what it was. Then we had TLC, The Undertaker versus Edge. This was a whole lot of fun. I think this delivered on what it was meant to be. Undertaker did do some big ass bumps, though Edge did the majority of them. This was very good. With, of course, if the Undertaker lost, he would be leaving the WWE. And the thing that probably a lot of people are going to be complaining about is the fact that Edge and his whole little army came out and attacked the Undertaker during the match to cost him the match. Though it didn't really cost him the match, because they came out, it cost him from winning the match, but then he cleaned house, pretty much killed everybody, was going back up, and then lost it when he was going back up because Edge came back up and then pushed the ladder he was on over, and he went through 4 tables and a nasty bump that just looked crazy. Good spot. But you see, that's how you book a run-in that worked. I thought the run-in worked, and I really liked the match. I'd give it 4 stars myself. Overall, I did like this, though I do think it was probably not as good as It could have been, without question, but I still think it was a good pay-per-view. I'd give it a 7. I wouldn't recommend it, of course, but just it being a 7. But I did enjoy it, though. I completely understand if somebody did enjoy this pay-per-view. It's one of those. It's one of those where there's going to be a whole lot of debates on, you know, somebody could say, I thought the pay-per-view sucked, and I really wouldn't argue with them, to be honest. But and someone could say, I thought it was great, and I wouldn't argue with them either. So there you go. That's it. Later all.